Section 1. Work Contact Camouflage. One of the most common and effective places deception hides is behind professional labels. Work feels legitimate, it feels structured, necessary, and unquestionable. When a phone lights up with a name like IT support, client services, or marketing consultant, suspicion rarely follows. Work has built-in credibility, and that credibility lowers your guard. This tactic works because it exploits empathy. Most men understand deadlines, late-night emails, and unexpected calls. You've lived that life yourself, so when she says she's responding to a project, coordinating a client issue, or dealing with a work emergency, your mind fills in the gaps for her. You don't question it, not because you're weak, but because the explanation fits a familiar reality. The camouflage is simple. A real name is replaced or expanded into something professional sounding. A single person becomes a role. Sometimes an entire fake company is created, complete with a polished name that sounds credible but leads nowhere if you ever look it up. Over time, late-night texts, quick calls, and stepping away from the room all gain a built-in excuse that feels unreasonable to challenge. What makes this especially effective is the psychological pressure it places on you. Questioning work-related communication can make you feel intrusive or controlling, so you silence your own instincts. That hesitation is exactly what allows the pattern to continue uninterrupted. The key here isn't catching a single message, it's noticing consistency. Do these work conversations happen mostly outside normal hours? Do the same names appear repeatedly, but never intersect with real-world work events? Do the explanations stay vague while the communication stays constant? Observation matters more than confrontation. A one-time late email is normal. A sustained private connection hiding behind a professional title is not. Work camouflage doesn't rely on secrecy alone. It relies on your reluctance to question what society has taught you to respect. Section 2. Existing contact modification. Family and familiar names. If professional camouflage relies on credibility, this tactic relies on comfort. Family and familiar names feel safe. They sit in a category your mind doesn't naturally question. When a phone rings and the screen shows mom, sister, or a close relative, suspicion shuts down instantly. That sense of emotional immunity is exactly what makes this method so effective. The strategy itself is subtle. Instead of creating a new contact, an additional number is quietly added to an existing one. The name stays the same, but the person behind the number changes. To you, it looks like a normal family call or message. In reality, the communication is routed somewhere else entirely. Because the label feels sacred, you're unlikely to look deeper. This works on a psychological level because questioning family feels wrong. It feels disrespectful, paranoid, even disloyal. Most men will dismiss their own doubts before they ever consider that a familiar name could be misused. That internal self-correction protects the deception without her having to say a word. The warning signs aren't dramatic. They're patterns. A family member suddenly calling or texting at very specific late hours. Long conversations that never seem to involve real family matters. Names appearing frequently in logs, but rarely mentioned in real life. Small inconsistencies that don't match what you already know about her relationships with those people. The goal here isn't to accuse or confront. That only creates defensiveness and shifts focus away from the behavior itself. Instead, verification matters. Calm observation, cross-checking details, and noticing whether the communication aligns with reality. Trust doesn't mean ignoring evidence. It means allowing trust to coexist with awareness. When familiar names are used as cover, the issue isn't privacy, it's manipulation. And once trust is built on misdirection, clarity becomes more important than comfort. Section 3. App-based invisibility. Modern messaging apps have changed how relationships are hidden. Unlike traditional calls or texts, apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, and Instagram operate as self-contained worlds. They don't need a visible phone contact to function. That separation creates a powerful form of invisibility. To you, the phone book looks clean. To her, an entire private relationship can exist inside a single app. This method works because most people still associate secrecy with deleted messages or suspicious contact names. App-based communication bypasses that logic completely. Conversations can be labeled with nicknames, hidden inside archived chats, or set to disappear automatically. There's no trail to erase because the platform erases it on its own. The behavioral signs are subtle but consistent. Frequent screen switching when you enter the room, notifications that appear and vanish quickly, heavy engagement with one app that doesn't seem connected to work, friends, or shared activities. To an outsider, it looks like harmless scrolling. In reality, it may be active, ongoing communication. What makes this tactic especially effective is plausible deniability. If questioned, she can frame it as social interaction, group chats, or casual messaging. And because the conversations live off the main contact list, you're left with no obvious reference point to challenge. The key here isn't access, it's awareness. You don't need passwords to notice rhythm. Communication that happens at the same times every day, follows predictable emotional patterns, or takes priority over real-world interaction is rarely accidental. Consistency reveals intent. App-based invisibility thrives on fragmentation. One version of her communication is visible to you, another exists elsewhere. When openness is replaced by compartmentalization, the issue isn't technology. It's the choice to maintain a separate emotional channel. Section 4. Emergency and medical contact disguises. Some labels carry authority so strong that questioning them feels inappropriate. Medical professionals, clinics, and emergency contacts fall into that category. When a phone displays a name associated with health or safety, most people instinctively step back. Concern replaces curiosity. That reflex is exactly what makes this disguise so effective. The method is straightforward. A contact is saved under the name of a doctor, clinic, or emergency reference. Sometimes it's labeled as an official medical professional. Other times, it appears as an emergency contact, the number meant to be called in urgent situations. On the surface, it signals responsibility and preparedness. In practice, it creates a shield that discourages scrutiny. This works because social conditioning tells us not to interfere with medical matters. Questioning a doctor's call or a health-related message risks making you appear insensitive or controlling. As a result, doubts are often dismissed before they're even formed. The authority of the label does the work for her. The red flags again lie in patterns, not isolated moments. Medical contacts that text casually or frequently. Messages that occur late at night without any real context. An emergency contact that seems more active than the actual partner. These details don't align with how professional or medical communication typically functions. The response should never be emotional confrontation. That approach collapses credibility and shifts focus away from the behavior. Instead, calm verification matters. Legitimate offices have traceable information, consistent communication styles, and clear boundaries. Fictional ones do not. When emergency or medical labels are used as cover, the issue moves beyond privacy. It becomes deliberate misrepresentation. At that point, the question isn't why you noticed. It's why the disguise was necessary in the first place. Section 5. Social media cross-platform. Hiding social media has created an environment where entire relationships can exist without ever touching call logs or contact lists. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, and similar apps allow private communication that leaves little visible evidence. Messages disappear, stories expire, and interactions are buried behind usernames rather than real identities. This method is effective because many men underestimate it. Social media is often dismissed as entertainment or background noise. While attention is focused on texts and calls, deeper connections are built through direct messages, private replies, and selective visibility. One person can see content no one else does, creating a sense of intimacy that's easy to hide. The disguise isn't a fake company or a family name, it's a persona. Usernames built around fitness, travel, art, or work interests provide plausible context. To an observer, it looks like casual engagement. In reality, it can be daily, emotionally charged communication that never appears anywhere else on the phone. The signs are behavioral. extended time spent in one app without a clear reason, less public posting paired with increased private activity, notifications that are opened immediately but never mentioned, shifts in mood tied to phone use. These patterns point to a private channel that operates independently of the relationship. The mistake many men make is trying to uncover proof instead of recognizing trends. You don't need access to see imbalance. When digital energy is consistently invested somewhere you're not included, the message is already clear. Social media hiding isn't just about secrecy, it's about building a parallel narrative, one where emotional attention is redirected quietly, and over time, the primary relationship becomes secondary without a single obvious warning sign. Section 6. The decoy contact system, multiple identities. The most advanced form of contact deception doesn't rely on hiding someone completely. It relies on multiplying them. Instead of erasing a number or placing it in one suspicious spot, the same person is saved under several different identities. Each name looks harmless on its own. Together, they create confusion. This system works by dilution. One contact may be labeled as a trainer, another as a consultant, another as a wellness professional or service provider. If one name ever draws attention, it can be removed without disrupting the others. The communication continues under a different label, and nothing appears missing. Suspicion loses momentum. What makes this tactic effective is how it undermines confidence. When multiple names exist, it becomes harder to form a clear picture. Questioning one contact feels premature because there are others that seem unrelated. The mind defaults to giving the benefit of the doubt, especially when each identity fits a believable role. The warning signs are again rooted in patterns. Different contacts that message at the same times of day. Similar writing styles or tones across supposedly unrelated people. Consistent frequency without real-world interaction. Professionals who exist only digitally and never intersect with daily life. The danger here isn't complexity, it's control. By managing perception, she stays one step ahead of confrontation. The goal isn't to avoid discovery entirely, but to delay certainty long enough that you second-guess yourself. The correct response isn't obsessive analysis, it's perspective. When communication networks feel overly elaborate for normal life, they usually are. Relationships don't require multiple layers of disguise. When they do, honesty has already been replaced by strategy,